Hey everybody, it's Emily and I'm here today with Tanya and we're going to be discussing the Heaven and Earth grocery store, which was our July Arrrgh booked selection.
For once, I have it too. It's very exciting.
I've readjusted my little setup here so I have a place to set the book. So I am curious to hear your thoughts because I found this book a little bit of a struggle. If this had not been for book club, I would have DNF'd it.
It was interesting because I started it late, as anybody who follows me on Instagram knows. So I was very panicked a little because I didn't realize how long it was. Like, I don't know that I theoretically had put that into my brain. So in my head, I was like, oh, I can just wait until the end of the week. But no. So until Thursday, I was like at page 12. So for me, it was like a compressed reading experience. And I think, yeah, if I hadn't had the audiobook also, I think it might have been a DNF for me also. Or like one of those books permanently, but like I save it for a trip or something where I have nothing else to read, like an airplane ride or something. I think it's a great airplane book because you'll just fall into the world and then it'll be over. It's like a contained reading experience. I think as a person who reads a lot of things simultaneously, it would have been hard for me to get through this at one go the way I did, without this deadline. So I understand what you mean. It was very, I think what I expected it to be was not what it was.
Same. Yeah.
So I
also wasn't anticipating how dense the story was. Like there was just so much going on at all times. And I was having a hard time keeping track of everything. I almost think this requires a second read. Just now that I know what's supposed to happen, I can kind of focus on individual characters because I feel like it jumps around a lot and I wasn't anticipating. I feel like the description of the book is, I don't want to say it's inaccurate because that is what happens, but it doesn't feel like that's what happens.
Yeah. It feels like a little bit of a clickbaity flyleaf. I enjoyed the book a lot. I thought it was beautifully written. Really. I thought it had strong writing throughout the way a short story would. It felt like a short story that happened to be almost 400 pages long. But it felt like a short story in that, how when you fall into a very good short story, a very tightly written one, you're in the world and the people feel really real and the events feel very present. I thought he did an incredible job of maintaining that throughout. This idea of all of these separate people becoming real people, even the side characters and stuff. I very much felt like this was a real neighborhood with real people, almost like a historical nonfiction of a place, that this really existed and all of these people interacted with each other this way and all of these histories. I found it hard to follow the narrative line.
Yes. That was where I kept getting stuck because I was like, wait a minute, what is supposed to be happening here? I kept forgetting what the plot was. And that pulled me out of it a little bit, I think, because I found it, I don't want to say distracting, but a little bit distracting because I wasn't sure the whole time what was happening until the end. I feel like the end ties up really well. And I was like, oh, that's right. There's a body. I kind of forgot about that. But but I really enjoyed the different characters.
That's my thing. I had I think it was an incredible character study, but it was such a detailed character study.
Yes.
That for the first part especially, I was like, is there going to be a story? Is something going to happen? Because I felt like I was meeting person after person after person.
Yes, that's what it felt like to me too. Yeah. I was just like, okay, there's a lot of people in this book. Yeah. I can't keep track. I almost needed to take notes.
Yeah, and sometimes I'd have to go back because they'd introduce someone else in a way that made me feel like I should know more about this person or why they were here. And I was like, did I miss a section? like I'd hear it on audio and then I'd have to go back up to the paper copy and be like, did I miss that person?
I did that a few times too, because I was like, wait, I feel like I missed something, but yeah.
But then we get their perspective later.
If I read it again, I think it would make more sense. Yeah.
But I found the writing very, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Did I enjoy the book like throughout? I don't know that I can say that. I don't know that I enjoyed myself the whole way.
Yeah.
You know, like I felt very much like this was an intensive reading experience that I would then have to discuss in class. Like,
this did feel like that. Did you give it a rating? What is your rating?
I gave it a 4 because I think the writing is really strong. Like, and it's hard to make, it's hard to make so many characters in so many places feel so real, you know, because truly, like every single side character had like a fully fleshed out.
They did.
Characterization.
There were so many side characters, and I gave it a 3.75 because like it didn't quite feel like a 4 for me, but I wanted to acknowledge that like this was a really well written book, and I think it's a me problem.
I mean, I thought it was incredibly well written.
Yeah,
but I didn't love it. Like I don't know that I would read this again for pleasure or comfort. Or for crying or anything, you know, like I think that it was remarkably real and deep. And I love the interactions of these people, you know, and how far backwards and then at the end, how far forwards that interaction like kind of extends.
Like I loved the scope of it. I loved how he was able to weave all of these different stories together. I just wish it had been a little more fluid because I feel like I got lost a few times.
And I wish I'd had a little bit more present day action of some of the things that made these people who they were. You know, like the way that the characters actually met. Like, you know, we have that slight bit of history between Shona and Beatrice.
Yeah.
I finished this book this morning. I don't understand why. I'm not holding on. But like I would have liked to have seen that like almost in like real time a little bit, you know, like as he progressed.
Told a lot about it, but I wanted to see it more. Yeah.
It felt like being with a very gossipy like grandma almost.
Yes,
who's like telling this big story.
Like it felt very much to me like sitting in the room while my grandma and her friends were talking. And like
and so everyone's throwing out
I didn't really know about, but like I was trying to figure out, like that's what it felt like. So I enjoyed it for that aspect and for like just the scope of it. It felt very like larger than life in some ways. Like I did watch an interview where he talked about how he based Shona on his grandmother. And because he wanted to give her a bigger story, like she did things that like he'd been told about, but he wanted more people to know about her. So he wrote this story kind of for her. And I thought that was really neat, that this was his way of like giving her more of a voice. And I really did like Shona as a character. I thought she was amazing. I love how
very believable.
Very believable. And I loved how everybody in the story was like rooting for her and like giving her so much respect. And like she had this magic about her that spoke to everybody.
From the beginning, right? From when she was a child and like wanted to walk.
When she was small. So I love that.
Beatrice is a Robin.
Like a beautiful tribute to his grandmother. So I loved that. I think reading that or listening to him say that made me appreciate the story a little bit more. But
for sure.
This definitely is a book, though, that I would not have been able to finish if it wasn't a book club selection. Like, I feel like I would have ended up DNFing it just because of how lost I felt like I got in the middle. But I'm glad that I had to force myself to finish because I think by the end I did enjoy it.
Yeah. That's exactly how I feel. It's like, but I definitely felt like when, you know, you're in high school or something and you're assigned a book and you're like, I know I should be getting lots of things out of this book. and I will. But like, I have to like, I'm not flying through it because I want to fly through it. It's like it's an intellectual exercise, this book. This is not one of those, you know, like fall into a world and just sort of feel whatever. This is, I think, like a social commentary book. This is a, you know, characterization book, but it's not a feel good read. You know, like even though the end I think is very satisfying, like I think it's you know, especially in this time that we're in, like a book where you really have to think about all these things and like feel, you know, the inevitability of some people's evolution being the way it is, and like you know, how we make exceptions for certain people and we don't know why. And there's people like Shona who, like, you know, everyone seems to make an exception for in a way. Like even Doc, like at the beginning, you know, obviously his is very superficial in his like attraction to her, but like I think it was interesting, these little things that get to people. I love their little inner monologues when they would interact with each other. You know, their tiny resentments and stuff. I feel like those are so present for everyone all the time. You know,
felt very realistic. Yeah, like that's how people do think when they're like, everyone has those kinds of thoughts. Yeah.
And Beatrice and Shona, like I love that scene where she does have to go to her door and ask her to help with Dodo, and like you expect this something, you know, because there's that long time of silence feels like this gulf. You feel like there should be something dramatic or something, you know, to bridge it, but there sometimes isn't, right? So it was interesting. I could have used more Beatrice's story, actually. I thought for all the characters.
Thinking that, like I wished we had gotten a little bit more from her. I feel like we didn't have time, even though like he probably could have, like he could have like shaved off a couple of the characters that maybe were less important and given us just a little bit more time with her.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's some history that I thought was unnecessary of like, you know, sort of like characters like Doc. I mean, like some of the history is necessary, but it kind of went on in a way that made me feel like I should be paying attention. But I didn't really need to be. But
I mean, feel overall, like he gave equal weight to every character, and not every character needed that. Yeah.
So like, there's one. If I had one, like, issue with the book, it would be that when he talks about the female characters in this book, even Shona, like they all are like hypersexualized by the men in a way that I thought was
that.
I was like, I don't know. I mean, some of my guy friends would say, you know, that is very realistic. Like that
it probably is, but I still don't necessarily want to read that.
It was odd because it was like every character, like every female character. And so I was like,
there was even a line at one point about how he found, or I think it was Doc, he found her limp attractive. And I'm just like, was that necessary? Like, what? You found his disability attractive?
It's supposed to make us feel even more like meh about Doc.
I know,
you know?
like, I mean, sure, and it did, but like, I was like, was that a necessary thing to add in? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was just very strange to me.
It was very, I mean, I will say it does show how much he like objectifies her, like truly as like an object in space.
Yeah.
And not like a person. But yeah. I mean, he made Doc super cringy. Though I will say the actual like assault scene kind of shocked me. I was like, really? Like, I don't know. I was like that's what happened. Like, you know, like I was like, how depraved are people? You know, like like someone is seizing, you know, and like unconscious. But you're not in like an environment where like you wouldn't be interrupted. I was very confused by that scene. I was like,
it was very, very strange.
I mean,
like I felt like I wasn't prepared. Like I wished I had some warning because I wasn't quite ready for that. But
I mean, I thought maybe it would be something more subtle that then Dodo was upset by, not like a full-on, like, you know, assault in the making.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a few moments in this book that I was just like, oh, okay, I did not
see that coming.
My eyes. Or my ears in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also have to reread the parts about the actual pipes and the well and things like that, because I was listening to that part and I was like, how does this work? Like, where did it fall?
There was a few moments like that where I just was like, okay, I don't understand what's happening anymore.
Yeah.
It was a lot of information that I'm like, okay, is this important? Do I need to know this? Am I going to not understand? And I feel like it might have been like more information than we needed necessarily.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. By the same token, I think it's a me problem, you know, because of how I read. I don't know. I like books that are, you know, I call them like the high school reading books, like the books that the college like course books. Like I like them, but I feel like when times are heavy, like in this particular time, like I don't know that I would reach for this book if anybody hasn't read it yet is watching this. Like,
yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's definitely a me thing too, because I agree. I enjoy reading things like this, but I have to be in the right mindset. I have to be like, I'm very much a mood reader for the most part, but I'm able to kind of shift my mood as needed. So like, I don't know. I feel like my perimenopause and lack of sleep and all of those things are weighing into my inability to focus lately. And this book requires so much focus.
For sure.
And I found it a struggle. And like I said, I would absolutely have DNF'd this, because about 30% in, I was just like, I have no idea how this book club is going to go. Because right now, in this moment, I have no idea what's happening.
Yeah. How will I direct this conversation? I think, I would relate this book to kind of like a very rich kind of meal, you know?
Yeah.
Like it might not be your favorite meal, but like you walk away from it thinking that was a great meal. You know, like that was a very good meal.
Like I'm glad I read it. I'm proud of myself for sticking it out and not going, never mind, this is too much right now. But yeah, it definitely isn't a book that I would say is for every reader, or maybe for right now.
Yeah, only because of mental health concerns.
Yes, definitely. Because it is a lot. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot of information. I feel like there's a lot of moments in the story that are really hard to read.
Yeah. It's a lot of like matter of fact recollection of like very ugly things about society and people, and also very beautiful things. But like, I think the beautiful interactions are like, you know, like if you have this quilt of this town, a lot of it is very ugly. And there's these like little beautiful little, you know, additions or embroideries of these like interconnected relationships. But it was hard. Like I found it to be like, when I was reading the book and came through the book, it was hard to not feel the weight of the book. You know, it's like reading a really rich meal. You're like, this is very well written. This was a moment that I can totally relate to. This is like something that completely happens, you know?
Yeah.
But I also felt like I wanted there to be more lightness, I guess, like something to take me out of the seriousness of it. And there is none of that. There is beautiful, poignant moments, but I don't know that there was a moment in this book where I like laughed.
No,
really.
there's not. You know? And I kept waiting for something to break the tension a little bit, because I felt like it was very heavy. And I felt like I needed that. I need to read something very light now, because I need some balance, because I just feel like
Yeah.
I don't know. This is definitely something that I feel like could put you into a reading slump.
Right. Yeah. For sure. For sure. I mean, yeah. I think we've covered it. I mean, it's very well written. Like it got a 4 for me, but I felt very much like, when you read a book that's gotten such rave reviews and such critical acclaim,
yes, this
that you're like, this is going to be a 5 for sure.
Yeah, and I was
really does uniformly.
I was expecting something different, I think, based on the reviews and based on the synopsis, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I maybe if I'd read this in a different time, if I read this when it came out, or in 10 years from now, I don't know, I might have a completely different perspective on it.
Yeah. Like if we had read it in 2015.
Yes. Like, I feel like things were so different then.
Yeah, exactly. No, I have the same feeling. It was like coming out of a very, very, it was like a shepherd's pie of a book or something. Like, where you can love it and it's well done and it's all the things, but like you can't eat the whole thing. Like you're not gonna just plow through that, unlike how I did it.
Yeah. This is definitely not a book to binge, which is I think what we both did.
Exactly, and maybe that's part of our reaction.
Yeah, I think so. Because I think this book definitely needs time. You need to like break it up with other things. Like
let it percolate
a little bit now, then read something else. Because it's definitely too heavy for binging.
Yeah, so Liz is saying that too. Like I think it was like, I mean, I'm gonna stick with my rich meal thing. It was tough. Go from beginning to end without pause, without any kind of relief.
Yeah.
I think the book would have been better, honestly, like if there had been those moments of levity, like, like in the dance hall and stuff. Like if we had seen, like, instead of just being told that it was like such an, amazing night at the beginning and stuff, when he talks about Mickey Kat's night, like sort of like what might have happened, or like even personal moments between him and Shona that were light, that weren't like sort of anxiety filled.
Yeah. Like I kind of want to compare it to the Gollum and the Ginny, because I feel like they have similarities in like a big cast of characters and immigrant stories and all of that. But I feel like that book did it in a way where it still had some moments of levity without it becoming something silly, and also like still maintained some of the heaviness, but I think it did a better job of breaking up some of the tension.
Right. Yeah. And it wasn't so much of a storytelling book. Like it was more personal, right? From both of their perspectives in a way. Like I felt like that always gives you like this, because you have to like laugh at certain things and your own silliness and things. The most personal reflection I found in the book was when Shona was dying, and she has that like that mindscape kind of expansion and contraction, and like sort of like we look at your life and like as you've spent time and attention on, and like what you could have done instead, and how it's all sort of done now. But I mean, like I thought it was great. I just felt heavy as I like pushed my way through the book. So I feel sometimes though, this is one of those books, like a lot of Pulitzers, where people are like, well, I can't say anything but that this book was fabulous because the quality of the writing is so good. Like what he does is remarkably hard to do. So I completely get why it won the National Book Award. I just, I feel like people are less honest in a way with themselves, even, of their experience of books like this.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. So everyone wants to sound like they know what they're talking about. We all want to be like, oh yeah, it was the best thing I've ever read. And like, it was definitely worthy of an award. Like, I can see that. But also I feel like a little bit lost in the story. And like maybe I missed some key moments or something. Something didn't fully click into place for me. I never felt like a deep connection to any particular character, which in a story that's nothing but character study, I feel like you should have like a moment where like, okay, now I understand you, or something. Like
this was like a time traveler book in that it felt like I had fallen into this town and now I was observing everything, but from a remove.
Yeah.
Like I never quite crossed that, like almost like this was a play in front of me.
The story. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like being in a play. Like it was like being in a very, very detailed. I mean, like the detail with which I could imagine this, and like the characters and their histories and all of this. And I felt for them in the sense that, you know, like I feel for the characters and things they went through and these relationships. But yeah, there were very few moments where I was like, I could imagine myself sort of like in it, you know, like there was like this veil always because it's being told to you. It was a lot of telling. It was masterful telling. I mean, I will say that.
Yeah.
You know,
and again, that could also just be a me thing, because I feel like that's a struggle I've had lately with just like being able to connect with any book because I'm like, I loved this, but I just like, I don't know. There's something missing here in my head at the moment. I don't know. I think a lot of us are probably feeling very burnt out just by the world in general, and that's definitely playing into it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Speaking of the Golem and the Genie, like I feel like sometimes books that have fantastical premises are given less credit, you know, in the literary sense because of the fantastical elements. But it is true that that book addresses a lot of the same cross-cultural historical interactions that this book does. So
yeah. And that's always been a thing that's bothered me, because I feel like just because it's fantasy or has fantastical aspects doesn't make it less important or less serious.
Yeah.
I feel that way about horror a lot of the time too, because like just because there's some supernatural element involved doesn't mean it isn't as hard hitting as something else.
And what do we call supernatural versus not is also very interesting, right? I mean, there's a lot of supernatural in very common religions. So, you know, we regard that as serious literature. But it is worthy of the weight.
Yeah.
Like it's worthy of the heft of this book. I've heard that Deacon King Kong is very different though.
Is it? I'm definitely curious about reading something else. I don't know what I should pick up. But
I mean, that one is described as like, if you look at the back, if you have the hardback version, like a hilarious pitch perfect comedy set in the Brooklyn projects of the late 1960s. So if I read that one and I get this similar feeling, I'm going to be like, what? Because in no way is this book hilarious.
No.
Not that it was described
not at all.
As not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would almost like to read that just to see what he does with a comedy. Like, I'm very curious.
Yeah, the prose radiates a kind of chain reaction energy. Like there was no chain reaction for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no chain reaction. Like I felt like going, you know?
Yeah.
Like I was in a very detailed snow globe of a world.
Yeah.
I did think though that the writing was strong from page 1 all the way to the end. Like there's no point at which he lets up.
Yeah, the writing is beautiful. Yeah. Which is really the only reason I gave it as high a rating as I did, because like I've struggled so much with this book. The number of times I was just like, I don't know what's happening. I don't get it. I'm missing something. Let me go back and read that again. Yeah.
What would you say was your favorite character side arc?
I was, I would say most of Shona's story was really effective for me. I really liked seeing all of the different ways that people interacted with her. I think one of my favorite moments was probably with the marbles, with how she would give the food away and ask the kids to bring in a marble for her. And not that marble. I want a blue marble. And I was just envisioning this giant jar of marbles and knowing that they were taking the marbles back and then bringing them in again. I thought that was such a interesting little tidbit about her.
Yeah. You have to make it worthwhile to kids too. That was somebody who so understood children.
Yeah.
That idea. And how she hadn't planned to love Dodo so much. She couldn't help. That was so sad. I really like that scene too. The first scene where we meet Dodo and he's telling him, Nate's saying just go grab a switch and take it to your mom and it's gonna be okay. Don't your aunt or whatever. And he's just so much more concerned about this other thing, this letter and everything that it might mean. And I wish we'd had more interactions like that where the characters are speaking to one another.
Yeah.
And definitely. Reacting in real time. That's all.
Yeah. More showing, less telling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I feel like that is the thing that they drill into you the most in school is show, not tell. And this book felt like almost all tell. Yeah.
Yeah. Which apparently gets you the National Book Award if you do it this well.
Yeah. If you do it right, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. Unlike all of our telling, this was what this looked like.
Yeah.
So.
Which, I think that says something about his writing ability because most of the time I think that does not work. Yeah.
And I think most of the time it doesn't give you such a clear picture somehow. It paints a very flat picture and he paints a very three-dimensional one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I feel like a lot of my reaction to this book is probably where I am right now in the world, mentally. And age-wise and everything, like you said, perimenopause and all of these things. There's only so much I can take.
Yeah. Times are hard.
Exactly. So, and I was actually, I think partly disappointed because I was kind of looking forward to a very well-written characterization mystery.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was expecting a lot more of a, historical fiction kind of story.
Yeah.
It's that's one of the things that was making me a little bit crazy was because I kept wait, what year are we in? What happened here? Am I in the 30s? Or is it the 70s? And that happened to me a few different times in the story. I was wait, are we bouncing or are we in the same time? Because I didn't feel the time period. It felt very confusing at moments with that because I expected it to be more historical, and there was some, but definitely this isn't a historical fiction book.
Right. I agree. I think it's much more of a societal commentary book.
Yeah.
Because all of this, if you had put the Heaven and Earth grocery store in 1985 or 1995,
right?
Now, I think it could still work.
Yeah,
for sure. But that's an interesting thing to think about. After the 30s and stuff, I think if you are going to just do a characterization story, there's no real elements beyond external historical events like wars and things like that that are just going to help place you, So
yeah.
There are certain books, where you read them and you're like if I was going to write a book, I would write a book in this sort of vein, If I was going to write a book, I would not be able to write a book in this vein. I feel it's a singular kind of talent to be able to do this.
Yeah, like I could never have written something like this. Yeah.
It's a great book though for like a class. For
I feel like there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dissect. You could definitely annotate this and have a lot of great, like, there's so many lines. And I was planning on annotating, and the few times, like, I have like 3 tabs because I was mostly listening, but occasionally I was like reading it with my eyes too. And that's when I would be like, oh, that is a really interesting passage. I'm going to tab it. But
No, I think it's definitely worth reading. I just think everybody should be careful of when they read it.
Yeah.
But I do want to read his other one.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious.
Have you read
a comedy?
You haven't read anything else by him, right?
No, I've heard of The Good Lord Bird because I know they adapted it, and I was curious about that, but I didn't want to watch it until I've read it, and I don't know if I'm ever going to read it.
It's a rollicking saga. I love these words that are on the back to describe these other books, and I think that kind of colored my impression of what I was going to get here also. Like something more, rollicking.
Yeah, more whimsical. I don't know. There was no whimsy in this story.
Absolutely no whimsy. And no real driving plot line either. So.
Yeah, I would not recommend this book to a person who needs a strong plot because there isn't one at all. Like, the number of times that I was like, wait, what is this about? Like, what's happening? Where are we going?
Yeah.
I felt a little bit confused several times because I was like, I thought there was a body. When did that happen?
Body? Yeah.
Yeah.
When is this person going to die?
Who's I kept thinking I missed it, and I was like, did something happen and I wasn't focused? Like,
did we lose a character?
No. Yeah. So I feel like this is not a book to go into lightly.
Yeah. And you very quickly know who the body is going to be.
Yeah.
Because of one particular clue, right? So no mystery there. You find out, I would say, midway through the book? Like who the victim will be? You just have to figure out who's going to actually. I was kind of hoping that someone else would be the perpetrator of the crime.
Yeah.
I mean, I hadn't settled on who I wanted it to be, but I was probably rooting for either her husband or Nate. Just kind of snap. Or not snap and be like very deliberate about it. So.
Yeah, I think I thought it would be more deliberate too, instead of just like, oops.
Exactly. Like, I didn't think you were going to be the British. So. No, it was rated all right.
It's not a bad book. Like that's the thing. I think we're being critical about our experience of reading it. Yeah. But I wouldn't say it's not a good book. Like this is a book that I think requires deep thought and a lot of focus, which is not something I have at this moment in time. I think a lot of it is
we also both binged it this week, which is not really suited to binging.
This is not a binge book. I tend to wait until the last minute for book club because I want it to be the last thing I read so that I remember it clearly. But I did not give myself enough time to read this. I gave myself the week, and I think this book needed a solid 2 weeks. I needed more time to give it the attention it needed.
So, Deidre, Emily gave it a 3.75 and I gave it a 4. And partly, we both said that it's partly due to how we read it, like how fast we both read it at the end, and just the heaviness of this book. Like, that it was incredibly well written, but very, very heavy, very rich, very heavy.
Yeah, I read probably 3/4 of it yesterday. Like,
yeah, same.
That is not how you should read this book.
Yeah.
Because I started it Monday because I'm like, oh, I should get started on this. And like the first, I don't know, 10% of the story, I went, oh no.
Yeah. We're gonna have to make plans. Yeah, me too. I made a little plan on Monday because I was on page 12 when you first posted on Instagram that this was coming. I was like, oh no. And then, I mean, I had left it intentionally for this week, but yeah, same exact feelings, because then I had to like put like tabs in it to be like, okay, by tonight you should be here, like, you know, the way I do for my kids. And then I didn't do that for the first 2 days because life.
Yeah.
And so then on Wednesday I was like, still on page 12.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely not a binge book. I think for me, if I had to read this book with my eyes only, no, I would not have been able to do it at all. So I was bouncing back and forth. I listened the whole time, like I had the audiobook, but I had to several times stop what I was doing, go sit down with the book and read with my eyes while I was listening, because I felt like I was missing things. I don't think this is a book that I would recommend just listening. I think you kind of need to tandem read or read it with your eyes if you can do that, because I feel like there's just so much going on and it's hard to keep track of everything just listening.
I thought, I mean, the audio was very good, but yeah, I tandem read also, and I think there was definitely like flipping back in the book to make sure that what I thought happened had happened and things like that. So I feel like the audio was very well done. I just, through no fault of the audio, I think it's important to have the physical copy also.
So. Yeah, I really like the narrator's voice. He kind of sounded just like a grandpa telling you a story, and I really liked that.
Yeah.
It was soothing. I mean,
I think there's 2 ways I would recommend reading this book. One is, like I said at the beginning, like an airplane read or like a trip read, because you're like contained with this one book and it doesn't feel like you have to like set aside time to return to this heaviness. You're like getting through it. Then the other way is like, you know, have it going on with other lighter things, especially nowadays, just so you can emerge, you know, from it.
Yeah, because I think you definitely need breaks. There are moments where I was just like, I don't think I want to read more right now, but like I have to because I need to get through it. But yeah, definitely
for both the last breaks. Yeah, last night I read till I couldn't read anymore, kind of thing. Like I just kept reading it, and then I finished it up this morning. So, I mean, yeah, like I said, not every incredibly well-written book is like a 5-star for me, because my enjoyment of the book is always going to influence that.
Yeah. Same. Like it gets a high rating because of how well written it is. Because if I hadn't been enjoying the writing,
that's true.
I would not have gotten through this book. Like, yeah.
So I'm curious about, like, for Deidre, like, I mean, we've established that it was a very well-written book, and, you know, incredible characterizations of the characters. Those were probably my 2 favorite things about the book. But if Deidre wants to let us know what her favorite thing about it was, since she did give it a 5-star, I'd be curious. So.
I agree. I would love to know that.
Yeah. And if Liz is still here, I'd like to know her rating too. This is one of those books where I do love to know what people I know have read it, like, would give it. Because whenever a book is so highly acclaimed and I don't come out with the same rating that, like, you know, a lot of critical reviews have had, I'm always curious to see like what a real reader's experience. It's like Rotten Tomatoes, you know, the critics review and the audience review. So.
Yeah, I've seen several people say that like this was their favorite book, or that they've given it a 5-star, and I'm always curious what made it a 5 for them, like what made it so highly rated.
Yeah, and then other people. So Liz gave it 4 stars. Other people give it. I think their rating is sort of. I know people who will rate an incredibly well-written book a 5, period, because sort of like as an honor, you know, like you can't possibly give it less than that because it is exceptionally well-written. So
it is. It's I can say that, okay, this is a book that is important and that is highly acclaimed and it deserves the acclaim. But I can also say, yeah, but it wasn't really something that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that'll weigh into my rating.
For sure. There was something, so it also reminded me of Gilead, the book by Marilyn Robinson, right? Is that her name?
Yeah, I haven't read that one. Yeah.
I loved that book. It's much, I don't know, I'm going to say this now and it's going to be exactly the same length, but I think it's much less long. I think it's like more like 300 or so pages. I don't know. I read a paperback, so it's hard to judge. But it's very much this similar vein of like falling into a town, lots of characterization, not much plot necessarily. But I feel like I was so much more invested in like the main narrator of the story. There's definitely one voice that's the main voice, the main like kind of story, that made it more personal for me. So that like for me is incredibly well written and also like a solid 5. You know, like I have reread that book.
I think for me, I don't mind when a book is more character focused than plot, but I need to have a character to like hold me through the story. Like, somebody that I can latch onto and like follow throughout. And I feel like that is one thing that we didn't really have with this book. Just there was no one character that I felt like we were with the whole time.
I felt like it should have been Shona.
I kind of wish.
But I feel like we had more reactions of other people to Shona than Shona's reactions to them.
About everybody else telling us about Shona without actually hearing her at all, which I wish we could have been following her, though. I wish we could have had more time in her head with her rather than other people telling us about her.
Right. I mean, even like her relationship with Dodo, right? Or with her husband, you don't have this idea of like what led her to love them, you know, like what led her to say yes, like what led her to accept his proposal of marriage, what led her to know that all of her like, you know, crazy antics like politically would be okay with him, like that whole you know, what made her fall in love with Dodo as a kid, like this, we're told she does and we can believe it, but what about him like appeals to her, right? Like that kind of thing, you know, like so no, it was a novel. Definitely a novel.
It was a novel. Yeah. That's what I told Sarah. I was telling her that this is what we were reading for book club, and I said I think I'm in trouble. But I said I was not anticipating this being such a literary fiction kind of story.
Yes.
And I was like, I wasn't prepared.
Yeah. Neither was I. What is our next book?
We are reading The Art Thieves by Andrea L. Rogers, which is YA, so I'm hoping for a much lighter book this month. So this is like I don't know if it's supernatural or time travel. Yes, it says it's a stunning work of Cherokee futurism, an apocalyptic time travel love story. So I know it has something to do with climate change and somebody traveling through time to warn people.
Cool.
So it sounds really interesting. I kept hearing about it. I think it won the Sybils for YA speculative fiction last year, and I was just super curious about it because I haven't read a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
like I'm always fascinated with time travel stories and how they use that element in the story. So I'm really curious to see. I don't think I've read anything like specifically indigenous and time travel.
I don't know that I have either. My dog wants to go say hi to everyone.
Yeah, my dog just popped up and went, whoa, what was that?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure there will be a stampede down here in a minute. And our next meeting is going to be...
I have not looked at the calendar. The first Saturday in September is the 6th. So if that date works for you, we could do that.
That date might not work for me. Okay. Because we have a fencing tournament.
Okay, so do we want to go backwards and do the last Saturday in August, which is the 30th, or
that works for
the next week for the 13th?
Both of those would work, I feel like.
Why don't we say the 30th then? I would rather not stretch too far out into September. Okay, so we'll meet on the 30th of August to discuss The Art Thieves. So I'm very curious about this, though. I'm hoping this is like a really good story that'll give us lots to talk about.
Mm-hmm. You know, like in terms of time travel and indigenous characters, for some reason, like what is it? Wrinkle in Time always gives me indigenous vibes.
Really?
Even though, like, there's so many themes of like, sort of like the wise woman theme and the sisters, like this trinity, this idea of like collective group of women's voices being like, you know, guardians, but also like very like removed guardians. Like, you're gonna have to handle this, you know. Like, good luck to you. This is like the help we can give you in this time. And even like some of the scarier elements of that book, they seem very like nature mythology based to me, even though it's like intergalactic. So
A Wrinkle in Time was one of my favorite books as a kid. It really had a big impression on me. Like I've been obsessed with the idea of a tesseract and time travel and that kind of thing. I think that's a really neat concept. So
that was one of the first things I read.
Not like any of the other books in the series.
They're very different, though.
They are so different. I read them as an adult, and I just went, "Oh no, this is not what I was expecting at all."
They're really different, and the arc of the stories in each of them is also very weird. Like I thought, but I read them all when I was little. But
so much more approachable.
Yes.
Yeah. The rest of them get into these weird, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Just such bizarre, like, storytelling.
Yeah. No, for sure. I agree. I don't know anyone who like rereads the other ones.
No, I've read A Wrinkle in Time like probably 100 times, but I only read the others once, and I just went, nope, that's all.
That was one of the very first stories that I loved that had like a main character that was difficult.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Like she is in no way.
Related to Meg so much.
Yes.
Because I too was a difficult child.
And she gets irritated at the right times. And she gets like prickly about the right things. I mean, you know, I always had a real bone to pick with books where the hero was like a little too perfect, you know, the main character. Like I was like,
I really, I don't know. I think for me, seeing somebody who was so similar to me and just like being frustrated with everything, like getting so annoyed with people.
Yes, like she gets so like, irritated.
Yeah.
She's like irritated on page 1. I forget. Like her brother is doing something.
She's grumpy from the beginning, and like I could so relate to that.
Yeah. It definitely gives her this like strength throughout. So grumpy from the beginning. It's like a great bumper sticker to have. Original grumpy. All right.
Yeah, so I'm so glad we could talk about this book today. I loved hearing your perspective on it, and seeing what other people thought, because I don't know, I love the fact that we can all have such different takes on the same book.
Yeah. So Deidre loved the writing and diverse perspective, and to see the way these characters explored racial and religious differences. For sure. I mean, definitely. I agree. I think he did it so well.
All of that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the lighter read, though.
Yeah, same. Oh my gosh, definitely. So yeah, I'm excited to read The Art Thieves this month, and we will be here to talk about it on August 30th, the last Saturday of the month. So I'm looking forward to that. So thank you for reading along with us and coming to the discussion today, and we will see you next time. Happy reading. Bye.
Bye.